Thank you so much for High Lady of Islamic Law in Malaysia, Professor Datuk Nur Aziah Muhammad Awal. In Malaysia, actually everything regarding Islam is under the king of the state or Yang di-Pertuan Agong. There are issues between Sharia court and civil court. For instance, recently there are issue of illegal child or illegitimate child. So this kind of issue have a potential to be or to have a more research among the academician and researchers. In Islam, there are some of terminology in Arab, such as sulh. Sulh mean reconciliation, reconciliation, and also Qamariah. Qamariah is the month in Hijrah, Islamic month. Okay. Now we go to the second speaker. This keynote address will be Professor Dr. Yasushi Kosugi. The Honorable Professor Dr. Yasushi is Director, Hadari Center for Islamic Civilization Studies, Graduate School of Asian and African Area Studies, Kyoto University. Please welcome Professor Dr. Yasushi Kosugi. The topic is about Islamic Civilization Studies, Islam Hadari Studies, and the task of Global Hadari Network. Please welcome, Prof.
Dear Professor Dr. Nur Aziah Muhammad Awal, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Student and Alumni Affairs, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Professor Emeritus Dr. Rina Bakayo, Executive Vice President for Gender Equality, International Affairs and Public Relations, Kyoto University. Professor Dr. Muhammad Yusuf Haji Usman, Director, Institute Islam Hadari UKM. Professor Datim Paduka Dr. Jabia Dakar, Deputy Director, Institute Islam Hadari UKM. Dr. Jasril Lee Haji Atan, Chairman of Legacy, Tun Abdullah Haji Ahmad Badawi. Dr. Muhammad Hakimi Muhammad Shafi, President of Kyoto University Alumni Malaysia, my Kyoto. Distinguished guests, honorable professors, dear colleagues and students, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure and honor to be here, and especially in this great occasion. Now, first of all, I'd like to express my congratulations for the 10th anniversary of Institute Islam Hadari, to its director, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yusuf Haji Usman, and all members of Institute, as well as members of UKM. Congratulations. Now you must recognize my red tie. I'm always happy to come back here because I feel very proud to belong to this university by being conferred an honorable doctorate in Islamic Civilizational Studies 5 years ago. Now also this 8th Symposium coincided with that signing ceremony of Memorandum of Understanding between two universities, UKM and Kyoto University, yesterday. That I think is a very, very important moment. It will be a cornerstone for the further cooperation, but it's also the fruition of our annual activities. And yesterday's ceremony was generously supported by Honorable Tun Abdullah Haji Ahmad Badawi, the association of his legacy and my Kyoto, and with the presence of Professor Datusari Dr. Nur Azlan Ghazali, Vice Chancellor of UKM, and Professor Emeritus Dr. Ina Bakayo of Kyoto University, our Vice President, Executive Vice President. We had very nice ceremony, and we felt very much of atmosphere of cooperation, and I hope that this will develop further in a very fruitful direction. Now, my speech is Islamic Civilizational Studies, Islam Hadari Studies, and Task of Global Hadari Network. I have 4 key terms. First one is not in the title, but Islamic mechanism of market of ideas. This is a framework to discuss. Now, then we have Islamic Civilizational Studies, Islam Hadari, and Global Hadari Network. Now, so we have these 4 terms. I will explain them in order. Now, these 4 terms are all related to scholarly pursuit and intellectual activities, not necessarily to actual policies. Today, I would like to address the tasks and responsibilities we should be engaged in as scientific researchers. Now, first term is Islamic mechanism of market of ideas. It is a framework of my argument to deal with specific tasks in our research and studies. Now, I proposed this term many years ago in order to describe, 1, the nature of decision-making in the Islamic Ummah, 2, the importance of both intellectual leaders and ordinary Muslims in deciding what is Islamically right or wrong, or appropriate or not. The hypothesis was made out of my studies on the historical development of mazahib, schools of law, singular mazhab. Now, within the mainstream of Islam, that is the Sunni world, there are 4 schools of law today, as you all know well. Now, they are Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and Hanbali schools in the chronological order of their founders' lives. And however, if we look into the history, there are more schools in early Islamic history. Notably, Awza'i school, Thawri school, Lais school, Zahiri school, and Tabari school. Lais school is a little bit less than a school because it was diminished before establishing family, but other schools had some strengths, and especially Zahiri school prospered for several centuries. Now, Islam didn't and doesn't have a clerical hierarchy or ecumenical council to judge the orthodoxy or authenticity or lack of therefore of these schools. No one say this is Orthodox school or this is not Orthodox. So why and who decides the fate of each school? Now, one case is particularly interesting, namely Tabari school. At Tabari, we all know in the history and tafsir, Quranic exegesis, he's an intellectual giant as a historian and a Quranic exegete. So Tafsir Tabari, we all know that, and Tariq Tabari, very, very well known. However, he failed as a founder of a mazhab. He tried but failed to establish a school of law. Now, there was a strong competition between Tabari and the Hanbali school in those days. Tabari criticized the Hanbali school and belittled its founder, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, for being just a hadith scholar. Ahmad ibn Hanbal has, of course, his collection of hadith, musnad, encyclopedic but very difficult collection of hadith. But he established his school of law based on hadith works. Now, followers of Hanbali school were able to retaliate and diminish the prospect of the Tabari school. Now, then, so how does an eminent jurist get a large following? The followers of Hanbali school was so great that they were able to diminish the influence of Tabari. Okay, so what happened? Now, studying their life and history of schools, we can say, okay, juristic theories and capability as a legal specialist, it's important. Now, fostering people, teaching students, then who becomes then good scholars and spread teachers of their master. That's also very important. Now, if we look at Abu Hanifa, the founder of the first school, was an able silk merchant who could provide for himself and also help his pupil financially. In those days, the scholars have to live on their own merchandise. So Abu Hanifa was very good. Now, As-Sawri, who is contemporary to him, his school has certain influence, but he lived in hiding from the political authorities, and thus had difficulty educating his pupils. So if you are a great scholar, but if you don't educate your pupil, if you don't produce many books, then influence may be limited. How was the relationship with political authorities? Abu Hanifa was a great scholar, but he refused to cooperate with them. In earlier days, scholars didn't like to cooperate with political authority to keep pure teaching of their law. Now, and he is said to have died in prison. But his first pupil, Abu Yusuf, became the Chief Justice and made Hanafi school flourish. He was a mentor to Harun al-Rashid of the Abbasid dynasty. Now, most notable clash between the political authorities and jurists was what we called Mehna, trial. The Abbasid authorities oppressed and punished Ibn Hanbal for resisting them over theological issues. This is when the Mu'tazilite school of theology flourished. But even that with a strong political power, they didn't succeed. Ibn Ahmad Hanbal's resistance increased his popularity among the ordinary Muslims, leading to his eventual victory over the political authorities. The Abbasid has to recognize that orthodoxy of Hanbal school. Now, the case is considered to prove that the superiority of Ummah over the political power. So Ummah has the decision making, not the political authorities. But again, we don't have a hierarchy, ecumenical hierarchy or ecumenical council. So what is this? Now, all these cases show that Ummah functions as if it were a market of ideas. That's my proposal of metaphor, where the ordinary Muslim at large have the final say. If it is a market, then there are other final consumers. Now, theoretically, an ordinary Muslim should follow the scholars as a whole. But in individual cases, they have the right to choose which scholar to follow or which opinion to adopt. The authority of individual scholars, ulama, depend on the size of their following. Scholars ought to give legal opinions not only fitting to the Quran and the Sunnah, but also appropriate to the need of the society at large. Differences of opinion among the scholars serve this process of market competition. Now, the Ummah's final say is also sanctioned by a hadith. My Ummah will never be united on misguidance. Lan tajtamia ummati ala dalala abadan. So, but now we have the image that the ordinary Muslim should follow the ulama, but one of the notable cases in history is the case of coffee. Many scholars say coffee is haram, and minority opinion said, yeah, we can drink, but the Ummah didn't follow that majority opinion. They continued to drink until that all ulama said, okay, this is fine, it is halal. Now as we all consume coffee, thanks to the Ummah's decision. Okay. Now, now let's move to the Islamic civilizational studies. Please keep this concept in your mind. Now, there are two kinds of studies when we say civilizational studies. One is that Islamic civilization in history. So we study its historical contribution to the world. But also there is the question of Islamic civilization as a reformulation. We discuss its prospective contribution to the global civilization. Now, historical studies of Islamic civilization are concerned with surveying what succeeded in the market of idea in pre-modern eras, so to say. That which has survived the test of time is apparently more relevant. Now, now, contemporary and futuristic studies of Islamic civilization are new findings and the formulation of historical assets, bringing new paradigms. These paradigms would contribute to reforming the current civilizational conditions and contribute to the formation of the prospective global civilization. An example in Islamic economics, let me take up this. Studies on riba and in the prophetic period as well as in later legal works, that's historical. But then reformulations and contemporary applications of these findings in today's social and economic condition, this is contemporary. Now let's move to next to Islam Hadari or civilizational Islam. Now, principle of Islam Hadari, there are 10 principles which I will not repeat here. You must know this very well. Now, the importance of Islam Hadari lies at this very juncture of human and Islamic histories. First, there is the expansion and ascendancy of the Islamic world on the global map. Islam now consists a quarter of mankind, and it's increasing, and it consists as 1/3 of countries in the world. However, there are conflicts between the Islamic and the non-Islamic world. And also there's a conflict within the Islamic world, within the Ummah, between the moderate and the extremists. We all know these problems. Now, so Islam Hadari, based on moderation, social well-being, and peaceful coexistence, is crucially important both for the Islamic global society and for the prospective global civilization. Now, when I say that at this juncture, because we see that the clash of civilizations and also modern civilization full of problems. Now, let's see that the crisis of current civilization. The current civilization and conditions are inevitable outcome Western-originated modern civilization. All countries have benefited from it, certainly, but also suffer from its negative consequences. Examples of modern problems. This again, you must be familiar, so I will go quickly. Ecological crisis, global warming, destruction of ecosystems. These are threatening our lives and our very survival. Also, there's a widening gap between the rich and poor. The excessive expansion of uncontrolled financial market, which is far larger than the real economy. Failure to reduce and control nuclear weapons and the weapons of mass destruction. The never-ending military conflict with the number of refugees now reaching its highest in recorded history, and the erosion of ethical and moral value and the materialistic pragmatism, among other influences. Why we are talking about the Islamic value system? Because the modern society is facing the problem of ethical values. Now, can Islam Hadari provide remedies for these problems? It should do so, beginning at the level of formulating paradigms, even if it is difficult to apply them under the current hegemonic system. While we are engaged in such studies, we also need to pay attention to the nature of market of ideas today. Now I'm coming back why we are talking about market. Because these extremists are successful, Islamic extremists are successful in certain areas, partly because they have clear policies aimed at their particular kind of consumers. We talk about that poverty as the causes for extremist recruitment. Now, there they appeal to their ideas, for example. Now, alienation in the Western country of that new generation of Muslim immigrant is also pointed. So they aimed at this kind of people. Now, if Uima as a market then another problem is that it is linked with the surrounding larger market of ideas in the world. Unlike the pre-modern eras, when the Ummah has relatively autonomy as a market. So when that Tabari school and the Hanbali school are fighting, competing, that's within the Ummah. Now, Mu'tazilite was influenced by Greek philosophy, but still it is within the Ummah at large. But today, we can't separate Islamic world from non-Islamic world. Now, let's move to the global Hadari network. Hadari Global Network. The very idea of Hadari Global Network was proposed for the first time in February of last year in Kyoto at the conference we held. Now, Hadari Center in Kyoto started in May 2014 when the Honorable Tun Abdullah Haji Ahmad Badawi kindly visited Kyoto University and officiated the inauguration of the office for this Hadari Center. Now, the day before yesterday, we had a roundtable discussion to engage a circle of Islam Hadari studies and activities. Now, we have a farm, now this network was launched the day before yesterday, and so we have a firm functional network to disseminate the ideas and the information of Islam Hadari. Now, while the extremists hold weapons in their hand, our struggle is in the market of ideas, where the values of our findings, paradigm proposals, and our prospective contribution will be tested. Whoever wishes to join this network will be most welcome. Whoever wishes to bear the task of Global Hadari Network, Hadari Global Network shares our ideas based on moderation, social well-being, and peaceful coexistence. Terima kasih banyak. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.